Welcome to Wake Up with Joni, the podcast where embodied consciousness meets life and leadership through awareness, where we don't just talk about awakening, we live it, and where the journey inward becomes the foundation for how we lead, love, and move through our world. Today's conversation is one that speaks to the part of us that has chased success, held it all together, and maybe even lost it, only to discover that what we were really searching for couldn't be built from the outside in. My guest today, Scott Lackey, has lived through the rise and fall of identity built on performance, certainty, and control. From war to Ironman finish lines, which I've never done, from building businesses to watching them collapse, Scott's journey is not about achievement. It's about confrontation, responsibility, and the courageous work of becoming whole. That's the ticket right there. His writing and work invites us to question the quiet voices we've given authority to, ones that tell us what's possible, what's not, and who we are allowed to become. This is going to be a great conversation, Scott. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for that gracious overview. And it is going to be a great conversation. And again, thank you for inviting me to the show, Joni. And I appreciate it. And I hope by the end of this, the audience will gain some meaningful insight that becomes applicable to their lives.
That's the whole point. It's succinctly put. That's the entire reason that we're here, is to
Yep.
help people live their best lives, whatever that is for them.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. So we just lay the tools at their feet and they can pick them up or not.
100%.
So let's get to know you just a little bit. Who are you and who were you before you moved into leadership and facilitating and all the good stuff that you're doing now?
But it's such a difficult answer, really, for most people to answer is who are you? Right.
Mm,
And again, I just wrote a story about this recently about questions are like buoys. They sit on top of the water, right? And I'm going to circle back to that in a minute because in answering the question, who am I really have to say, and this is a poem actually in my book, that I'm actually nobody. And that sounds terrible, but it's not meant to be terrible. And what it's meant to be is that I had to go through life. This is just me. I had to go through life to figure out that all the things that I was pursuing, all the things that I thought had value, all the things that I thought would deliver me to the person that I wanted to be, actually taught me that's not who you're supposed to be. That's a nobody, what you're trying to become. And if you want to become somebody, that is the person you're supposed to be, which is me. So when I answer that question of who is Scott Lackey, all right, yes, I can say I'm a father, I'm a dad, I'm an Ironman, all those things you described. But more than anything, I would answer that question. I'm just a very simple person that wants to take care of his family, wants to help others, wants to write books, wants to write stories, wants to have engagements. I'm all those things. But most importantly, I'm a father and a dad to a family and a great kids. And that's the only thing I focus on these days, believe it or not.
So do you make a distinction between the somebody that you became being you, the authentic, value aligned you,
Mm,
the roles you play are dad and podcasting person and writer and these things. Do you make that distinction?
yeah. Do I make a distinction between being a father versus being on podcast or writing a
No.
book?
So the question is, do you make a distinction between the beingness of you
Mm,
and the roles you play? So these are hats we put on and we do our little
yeah,
dance, and then we put another
I
hat on.
used to. Yeah, I do. Exactly. I used to. And we still put hats on, right? Because as a public speaker, that's a hat when I'm on stage.
Mhm.
But I have to tell you that I keep that hat as narrow as possible because I deeply value authenticity, right? I actually deeply value vulnerability, right? I deeply value having genuine, in-depth conversations. And so, yes, I know I have to put on a hat to be a speaker, or if I'm being interviewed to be a speaker, I know I have to wear a hat, or I know I have to wear a certain hat when I go into my Ironman training. But I have to tell you, I try to keep that hat as narrow as possible because, again, in my past life, I tried to use those things to fill a void, if you will, inside me, a space inside me, because I thought that one or more of these would fill up a space of something that I was chasing. And I've said this, I say this in my book, is that I succinctly say it this way: there's no distance, and I'm not quoting exactly, but I'm basically saying there's no distance I have to travel, right? There's no possession I have to have. There's no vacation I have to go on. There's no scene I have to see to find exactly what I'm looking for. It's in none of those places. It's exactly where I'm standing, which is me. It's
Mhm.
inside me. The answers, the wholeness I'm looking for is inside me. I've gone out and bought a motorcycle before. So I thought, man, if I had that motorcycle, I would be happy. And it was
Mhm.
exciting. It was wonderful. But that was the most exciting day was the first day I had it. And every day after that, or shortly thereafter that, I was looking at myself and staring at it in the garage because I never rode it that much, thinking, what a stupid expense. What was it I was missing?
Yeah, yeah.
And again, going back to your question, is that when we look for other things to fill ourselves or fill that missing hole, what I discovered about myself is that I didn't trust myself.
Mhm.
It was some broken promises. And so I was using these external things of validation because I wasn't strong. I wasn't good enough for myself, right?
Mhm.
Other things had to fill the hole inside myself: possessions, trips, money,
Right.
status.
So many threads to pull. You needed to know yourself to get to a place where you knew yourself in order to trust yourself. Because, and then you'll correct me if I'm wrong, because built on a false belief foundation that probably was built by the ego or whatever outside information you took in as you grew up, you thought that the value lay in this, what you have, what you've accomplished, where you're going, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So is that correct in saying you had to know yourself to trust yourself? And let's start there, man. How did you
Yeah.
become to know yourself?
Yeah. I can answer that very succinctly. Is the answer, and I write about this again in the book, is that the more that I sacrifice of myself, the more of myself I find.
Service. Yeah.
That's one. That's one. Service is one.
Mhm. Tell me others.
Okay. So let's just use the Ironman race as an example. You are in many forms sacrificing yourself. It's not just the run, it's not
Mhm.
just the swimming, it's not just the biking. It's that mental discipline that you have to force yourself into every morning when you wake up. And that voice says to you, hey, man, you don't have to get up today. You've been doing good. It's a soft voice.
Mhm.
It's almost an echo. It's faint. It's a whisper. You can sleep in today. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to know. And I listened to that voice. And there was mornings where in the early days where I said, yeah, you're right. I've been training a lot. But I affirmed what was a lie or a series of lies. But then one day that voice said to me, nobody's going to know. And the light bulb went off. And I said, wait a minute. I'm going to know. I'm going to know. And I got up and I may have griped and moaned all the way to the track or the pool or whatever the case may be, but I went. And I really haven't deviated from that. So using the Ironman example, I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So part of knowing yourself, trusting yourself, is examining your internal dialogue, the beliefs coming up to whatever it is you're engaging in, what is true, what is not, and then acting on what will bring you the best result. And as
Mhm.
you did that, as a person does that, as they do esteemable things, they gain self esteem. If they do trustworthy things, they gain trust of themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
I do want to underline, and I know volunteerism or serving others is a quick place to go when we talk about sacrificing ourselves, right?
Mhm.
But we really cannot underestimate the power of that when it comes to ourselves. Yes, there's many benefits that are gained from that, but the act of sacrificing ourself, I think of that in my marriage. I think of that for my son or my daughter. This is a constant battle, even in the small things. So I just want to underline for the audience is answering that question of what are you willing to sacrifice?
Mhm.
I'm talking about sacrificing myself, but you still have to answer the question every single day in decisions after decision. What am I willing to sacrifice today?
You don't mean sacrifice as in until there's nothing left. Sacrifice needs to be in balance. So there's a reciprocity. I will sacrifice my time for my wife because my wife needs that time, and that will make her
Mm,
happy. Her happiness then makes me happy. So you're not just
sure.
outflowing everything. There is
Correct.
a
I
give
don't
and
think that's sustainable to outflow it on everything, right?
mhm.
Because it can be, as much as it's draining to do that, it's also fulfilling. But yes,
Yes,
I do believe, this is me, in my opinion, that I do believe that yes, there are events where sacrificing yourself is still figurative, but it means that you're going to have to break something within you, right? And that can be a long journey. Okay. But again, I hope that makes sense. But there are things that you're going to have to break inside you in order to get to the other side of you.
yes. And another way to put that then is to challenge yourself to get outside of the box, to challenge yourself to do more, to do better, to do different. There is a sacrifice in that.
There is. There's 100% sacrifice in that. But I'm going to use the Ironman example is your body does not want to do the workouts. It wants to rest. And it is I'm just again singling something out here. It is a constant mental battle to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning and it's freezing outside and it's dark and your bed was warm and your legs hurt from whatever you did yesterday and you have a headache and you've got a long day at work today and you're going to run a half marathon for your training in the morning. And all of that internal battle is that you in the beginning you don't know this, but in time as a triathlete, I believe this is what happened to me. In time, I had to break the weakness, for lack of a better word, inside me that did not want to get up and do this. I hear this people all the time. How do you get up in the morning? I'm not a morning person. I'm like, I think this. You need to break that inside. That's something that needs to be broken inside you.
So you practically, purposefully interrupt the conversation in your own head. Okay.
Yes. Not
I
only
don't,
interrupt it, I'll listen to it. I'll ask it questions.
okay, good. Keep going on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'm going to go back to using the Ironman example because I did, that was the one time in the beginning, I should say. I've continued to practice this, but I would have, or even writing my book is a good example. But yeah, matter of fact, I'm going to use that example. In the early days of writing my book, to answer your question, the constant voice that I had as I was writing, who do you think is going to care about what you're reading? Interesting question. I don't know. I'm going to keep writing, right?
Mhm.
Hey, Scott, need an answer here. Matter of fact, if you don't want to give me an answer, I'm just going to tell you nobody's going to care about what you're writing about. Doesn't matter. And so I didn't go too terribly long before that voice became very aggravating. And so I asked myself, who is going to care? Let's think about that for a moment. Let's turn to the question. Let's not evade it. Let's turn to it. Let's face it. Let's sit down with a notebook. Okay, who's going to care? Oh, me. That's who's going to care. Okay, next question. I really do have a journal entry like this. Next question. Is it important to you that other people care? No. Are you writing this book for anybody else other than yourself? Yes. Who? My family. Will they care? Yes. Does it matter if anybody? No. What's next? I mean, so I went through that exercise with myself journaling. And when I fully answered that for myself, that I'm the only one that matters in this decision about writing this book, and I care about this, I've never had that voice come back again. That
Mhm.
question has never arisen again.
One of your pieces that I read, you said something very powerful, and it ties into this conversation. You said I was listening, but I did not, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, accept the storyline. So I was
Yeah.
listening, you're listening to it. It's like getting feedback. You're getting feedback from your own internal self.
Yeah. And the challenge is that sometimes that feedback is absolutely correct,
Hmm.
but more times than not, it's not.
Yeah.
And of course, then we get into that question of how do we discern that?
Hmm.
And I'll self-answer that quickly. You got to spend time with it, right? There aren't really these are not quick answers. They're not photo snapshots. But yes, is it is not uncommon at all for me in my latter years in life after the many different failures that I have participated in that I don't mind having the hardest conversations about what feels wrong, what feels right, what looks wrong, who cares, this person, that cares, you know what I mean? What's it going to mean? What if I fail? I'll go through all of that stuff vulnerably and transparently because what I'm actually looking for is what is it in that message? Is there something in there that needs to be broken again? Because I have no hesitation to breaking it so that hopefully I will continue to become a better version of myself because the benefit of that is the peace and the joy that I have in life. I don't need other people's approval to do things. If 47 people email me and said, Scott, that was the worst podcast you ever did in your life, I go, okay, thanks. Moving on,
Yeah.
learn from it. But what is important to me is that I break those things within myself. And then the benefits that come from that are not just personal, but those benefits are gained by my son and my daughter and my wife, whom I love dearly, by my neighbors, by my colleagues, by people I interact with at the airport or in my community. Because when we fix, and not that we can be permanently fixed, but I believe when we fix ourselves, when we address those things, it naturally helps and impacts others in the world around us. Just if we don't and we turn into a rotten apple.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely. We talk about that a lot here, that it's the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And the number one most powerful thing you can do is to make yourself whole,
Yes.
is to heal yourself. And so as I'm listening to you, and it's very clear, there's lived experience here. There's
Correct.
confidence and comfortability in your own skin that comes from the travails and the triumphs. So what would you say to people who don't have the lived experience? And this ties into the beginning.
It does.
Okay. So it's knowing yourself and therefore trusting yourself. And so there has to be some of that in the beginning, and maybe it's acting as if you know yourself and acting as if you trust yourself. So what do you say to people starting on this
Yeah.
journey?
There are so many paths that we could go down on this topic because nobody's journey is my journey.
Mhm.
And we may cross paths, we may walk paths together, but we all have a different destination. So being mindful of that, because I'm careful, just so you know, I'm very, very careful of telling people what to do. I don't want
Right.
to send them the wrong direction. But what I would say to people who are starting out early in their journey of discovering who they are, I would start with two words: broken promises. And much of the garbage that builds up in our spirit, in our mind, in our heart, in our soul, much of that garbage are broken promises to ourselves. And we know what they are. We know when we did them. We can relive the moment. We can still feel it. The pain is still there. And if we will start reconciling and dealing with some of those broken promises, that can be a wonderful starting path forward. And I'm going to give you a ridiculous example. And I'm going to give you a ridiculous example because it was something that I did because I was tired of that voice in my head. Something simple. But I had grown frustrated going into my closet and looking at the large volume of clothes that I haven't worn since God knows when, the large volume of things that were in drawers that I saw all the time. And I thought about why is that in there? Just unanswered, unnecessary questions, garbage in my brain. And so one Saturday, I decided, I got up early. I said, I'm going to strip everything out of my closet. There will be nothing left. And it's not going back in there unless it serves me. You wouldn't believe the things that went to Goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, it almost looked like I was homeless. Okay. Because I got rid of that many things. The sense of fulfillment that I had, that one small thing, that one little tiny thing in my closet that I saw every single day, instead of me questioning myself, instead of that voice being, you never wear this, throw it away, and not answering the question, now I'll walk into my closet, perfectly organized. The only thing that's in there is a value to me that I wear or what. So it's a massive transition, but it's a small thing like cleaning out your closet.
Yeah. So that ties into, you talk about keeping small promises to yourself versus big breakthroughs. Now, big breakthroughs are fine, right?
Sure, they are.
We
We all
welcome
love those.
those. But keeping the small promises to oneself can build into a breakthrough or over time.
I think it absolutely does.
Okay. So
Keeping your small promises are the leading indicators that a breakthrough is coming.
I like that. Now, across my desk has come in two separate cases of hoarding, clients who hoard, and that's a very complicated thing,
It
and it
is.
becomes a mental
Sure.
diagnosis, of course. But somewhere in between a little clutter and the hoarding, there's another client in between, and
Yeah, we
it's
call them pack rats.
yes, okay. So talk to my pack rat out there because I know she listens to the podcast.
Yeah. So in other words, talk to the pack rat about taking these small steps.
Exactly, exactly, because that's the only way
Yeah.
it's going to change.
Yeah. Well,
Overwhelming.
there is power in the micro. The micro is foundational, even to the anatomy of our body. Okay. Can't see our DNA, right? But it's critical to our being. So to the pack rat, and by the way, I have one in my family and I love them dearly. But to the pack rat, I'm going to give you some real world examples. Don't take your closet apart. Don't do that. Start with a drawer.
Mhm.
That's the micro. Okay. I learned this from someone else. Take some of the things that you struggle with departing. I didn't learn this, but it's a tool that I use with my family. Put them in a box. Don't label it. Put the date on the box. Okay. I'm sorry, the date you put it in there. And then move forward and put a second date on there, which is 6 months in advance. And anything you can name in 6 months, you get to keep. If you can't name anything, that box goes in the trash. And if you can't do it, and I have a person in my family that cannot put that box in the trash because they know something is in there, they just can't remember what. The rule we have in the family is dad will take care of it when nobody's looking.
So assign a trustee to the box.
A trustee to the box. And again, I guess it's a mental get out of jail free card that I don't have to have that physical act of throwing it away. I'm not trying to take people there. But again, that micro win of a drawer or the micro win of putting things in a box and dating it. And what you just taught yourself in 6 months is, wow, I can't name anything in that box. I did this with my son recently. Within the last 2 or 3 months, he's moved back from California and he's been out there for 18 months. And he came back, we were pulling some things down from the attic. And I said, I'm going to throw this box away because you can't name anything in it. That was my joke. Oh, he rattled off about 3 things. That failed, right? What a wonderful youthful memory. Those are things I would call those micro steps. I could talk about one other part of being a pack rat is, and I love that name. One other thing about being a pack rat is ask yourself, what is the value specifically? What is this item? What is it? What are you valuing in that? What inside you is that piece representing? And then I would ask you to go and have a long talk with yourself about that piece inside you. I don't mean peace as in calm. There's something spiritually inside us. That physical item is affirming. And I write an entire chapter about this in my book. And I'm going to tell you how I dealt with it. Is I used to have in one of my offices all these awards, pictures of me shaking hands with people, medals, trophies, right? It was an I love me sanctuary in my office. So people would come and visit suppliers, customers, employees. And of course, if I wasn't in the office and I was coming up there, they would be staring at the walls and reading things and looking at pictures when I was in Iraq and just all this stuff. And then we'd come in and sit down and we'd have a whole conversation about when you did this and when you did that. And I just began to notice, why are we focused on all these things?
Mhm,
Well, Scott, you put them up there. Why don't you ask yourself, why did you put them up there? Were they for you or for other people? Huh.
mhm,
Fascinating question to ask yourself. And then it turns out that it wasn't for me. It was for other people. So I had an experiment with myself. I stripped my walls bare. I boxed everything up. There wasn't a picture on a wall. I'm sorry, with the exception of one, a picture of me and my family. I stripped everything out of the office, boxed it up, took it home, stuck it in the attic. And that changed the conversation around the
mhm,
office.
mhm,
Now, basically, what I said to myself is that if you can't be the person you think you are in these pictures and these trophies, physically talking to someone, if you can't make them feel or believe that's who you are, if you need medals and trophies and physical possessions to do all of those things, you're living a lie, my friend.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I stripped it all off. And if you were to look in my office, my home office right now, the only thing you're going to find in here is a couple of American flags from people that I knew that passed away and a picture of my family, even at my house. I don't need that stuff anymore. I
Hmm.
hope that answers that ties back into the pack rat theme, if you will, my own experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also touches on something that is dear to my heart, which is I read a book called The Millionaire Next Door.
Oh, I've
Years,
read that. Yeah.
yeah, 20 or 30 years ago. And the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
that stuck with me for 3 decades is that the rich man is the man in the pickup truck with the Timex. He's not trying to impress anyone. He doesn't,
Correct.
he's not wearing his dollar bills on it in a suit.
That's
The guy
correct.
that is in debt and is stressed to the eyeballs is the guy in the Ferrari. I mean,
That's correct.
obviously there are exceptions, but that really ties into the beginning of our conversation, which is what is of value. So being nobody is more valuable. It's more peaceful. Now we're at PEAC, peace.
Yes,
Yes, than putting ourselves on the rat in the
that's
rat race
correct.
on the
That's correct.
hamster wheel.
Yep.
There's a question I've never asked anyone actually in any podcast that just popped in as you were talking about Iraq. What is the thing, do you think, that you learned there about who you are? Was there something
Mm,
that you took away?
sure. Yeah. 3 words. Make it happen.
Mm, no matter what.
Make it happen. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't happen, break it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
So,
that also, again, that's a gift and a curse because my daughter, if she were sitting here, she loves to tell stories about when things are not going the right way. She won't say, I need my dad to make it happen. She'll say, Dad, would you use your business voice?
uh, that's great.
What she's referring to, right? Or my wife or my son, they know dad has a make it happen button. And
Yeah.
I don't like to bring that button out
To me, what you're saying, so you're there and your life is on the line. Other people's lives are on the line, so you have to make it happen.
for
So if
sure.
we approach our lives like that here in this safe environment, make it happen, things happen.
They do.
But there is an
They do.
energy behind that, the business voice.
Yeah, there is an energy behind it. And I guess when I said it's a blessing and a curse, let's talk about the curse for a moment. When I left the military, how about this? When I went to the military out of high school first, so I did my 4 years of active duty out of high school. So that meant when I left the military and joined college when I was a freshman, that meant the people that went to college straight out of high school, they were graduating.
Hmm.
So I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was with the 1st Infantry Division from Fort Riley, Kansas.
Mm.
And we weren't there as long as some of the more recent battles of Afghanistan and Iraq. We weren't there that long, but combat's combat. And when I came back, I had a completely different mindset, but than everybody that wanted to party and do all these fun things. And I was there to make it happen.
Mm.
And my very first invention that I ever came up actually was born out of the desert. And I just felt like, and I was wildly successful in the military. Things came easy to me. I was promoted quickly. I did a lot of really cool, amazing things in the military in a short period of time. Lived in Germany for 2 years. And anyway, to come back to that, I left the military and I just thought I would bend the world to me
Mm.
because that's what the military, in essence, says we're going to do.
Hmm.
If we get called to the theater, we will bend the theater to our will, right?
Mm.
As a practical statement. The world doesn't work that way. The world laughs at that statement and says, I will break you. You just
Mm.
don't know it yet. It's
Hmm.
a saying I once read. I went out into the world to change the world. But then when I became wise, I decided I would change me. So where
Hmm.
make it happen sends you down the wrong path is that when you just think you can bend the world to your will and you find out you can't, it's going to take you places you never, ever intended to be. And you're going to have consequences that you were not aware of because you
Hmm.
cannot make it happen sometimes.
Yeah. Will is extraordinary concept because we all have a will within us. And I call it pushing power at something. So make it happen, push power, make it. So what I've learned through some trial and error is I have to go quiet. Is
Yeah.
this the path for me? Is this a
Yeah.
battle for me? Then I'll push power. Then I'll push will if it's in the highest good, basically.
Yeah. There's an enormous amount of wisdom in that because some battles don't need to be fought to be won.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if people are watching your face right now, it's very serious looking, but I also know you have a sense of humor because
Because of one of my comments in the email.
yes, exactly. And there's a lightheartedness also in
Sure.
just the badinage. So where did you find the fun again after being over there
Yeah.
and this whole thing you just talked about? Where did you find the fun again and how do you use that?
Yeah. It honestly took a long time. And again, I wasn't over there that long in the desert, but I did my 4 years of active duty. And then while I was in college, I was in the National Guard for 4 years, so 8 years total. And I was excited to go to college. I was excited actually to get out of the Army. And I was excited. I was excited because when I was in the desert, I invented a product that basically it dug a trench, it laid cable, and covered the wire back up when being towed behind a vehicle, right? And it was something I invented out of necessity because I had been asked to lay a bunch of communication cable out in the middle of nowhere. And anyway, so I made a rough design of it and it worked in the desert. And it was a massive aha moment for me. And my life's path had been figured out in that moment. Because,
Hmm.
by the way, I always wanted to build a business in my life. I always wanted to have a startup. I wanted to invent things. I wanted to throw my life into something and build it into something meaningful. So when I got out of the military, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to go to college. I was going to get my degree in business. I was going to launch this invention. I was going to build a business around it, do all these things. I was going to make it happen.
Hmm.
But then the world had a different opinion. Back when I went to college, Google was when we went out and told everybody what our business was. That's how you got your feedback. You would tell your parents, you tell your friends, you tell your college athletes, your professors, your coach, your fraternity friends, whatever, your girlfriend. You tell everybody, this is, I'm having this invention. I'm going to, matter of fact, I was on the front page of the newspaper above the fold. It was an amazing day. Can't wait to be a millionaire.
I
And
hear a butt coming.
oh, there's a huge butt coming. Like you can hear it coming. But the butt was, it didn't happen overnight, but the butt was I listened to everybody and I
Mm.
tried to do everything they told me to do or not do. I was just a leaf blowing in the wind to and fro, as they say. And I grew so frustrated. And that was really, believe it or not, the hard part for me was when the realization came that this, and by, that's another thing. I went and took out a bank president, gave me a $10,000 loan just by my signature. Can you imagine that today? But he liked me so much that he gave me a loan. It was just on my signature, obviously the promise to pay it back. And I gave it to this company in Washington, D.C. that was going to take me to the moon. And of course, many months later, I was at the tail end of that. They get shut down by the federal government as a fraud.
No.
Yeah, it's all, you can still find it on the news. They swindled a lot of people, but that was the tipping point for me where it all just came to a head and I was as lost as a goose, as they say. So it wasn't coming out of the military of not being happy. Oh, no, I was absolutely happy. I was filled with certainty and I was going to launch this event. So it actually wasn't until I got into my sophomore, junior year of college that I was absolutely lost and had no clue what I was going to do with my life
Hmm.
because the invention thing just blew up in my face. Everything I dreamed about.
Yeah. So you talk about collapse as a doorway. So
Correct.
is this the first big collapse? And what was the doorway?
It's not the first collapse, but it is the first big collapse. And I will say, as my life progressed from pre military to this point in my life, as it progressed, almost like economic turmoil that we see in our country, it's like every crisis seems to be 4X of the previous. So this was my first 1X crisis in my life where my $10,000 had been stolen. My invention had been blown up because I believed everybody else. And by the way, who's the one person I didn't believe in that equation?
You?
Me, me, the person who invented it. So all these things led me down that path. But yes, that was my first, I'll call it 1X moment where I questioned everything. And yes, it was a floor. And I didn't know what was going to happen.
Did you freeze?
Sorry. No, I was just thinking through how to condense all of that time. I apologize.
That was awesome because it has
Yeah.
happened where I'm talking to someone and they just freeze. You were
Yeah.
just
No,
having
it was just,
a
I
moment there.
was literally just reprocessing that and going, it was like again, just a cliff fell out from underneath me. And the way I got out of that, it was incremental. And it really just didn't happen until I graduated. It's near the end of graduation. And this is the craziest way it would happen. But my best friend called me and said, "What are you doing when you graduate?" I said, "Man, I got to find a job. I have no money. I've got loan payments. I'm broke. I've got college debt. I've got to go find a job." And he said, "Why don't you come down to Houston?" And this girl that I had met in Texas was going to be there, my future wife, by the way.
Oh,
And
that's
yeah,
important.
yeah. And anyway, there was a journey that took place just happening at the end of my senior year, getting a job at a medical company in Dallas, Texas. I relocated to Texas, but there was a series of events where there was a convergence that I could not have planned, I could not have thought of, I could not have seen, I could not have dreamed. There was a convergence of activities in a short period of time that gave me a completely new lease on life. That now, instead of make it happen, I still believe that. But instead of making it happen, I was going to focus that energy on making it happen where there was a reasonable likelihood of a positive outcome, not on everything. So it tempered that skill, but I kept that skill.
So we often, I say, everything happens for you, not to you. And
Absolutely.
what you have said is collapse is a doorway, not the enemy. That was the
That's
other piece.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So,
In other words, the gifts are in the pain.
yes, yes. So, how do people, I know you're not going to tell them what to do, but how do you recommend to people that they not fall into victim of whatever collapse is happening? You can grieve it, you can be upset or angry in the moment or what have you, but to get stuck there is not ideal. How do you
Yeah.
move through
And
that to get to the gift?
sure, all of those things you described are actually important things. The grieving, all of those things they are important ingredients. But I'm not the first person to say this, but it is never ever about the event. It never will be about the event, but it will be how you choose to respond to that. That's
Yes.
what it's going to be about. And your choice may be, by the way, to blow up the world,
Hmm.
get divorces, go drink, do drugs, whatever. That may be your choices, but that was your decision. It wasn't the event. It was how you responded to it. So my record, how I do it, I should say, when these challenges, these what I like to call lightning strikes take place. Okay. What I do is I don't run from them now. I actually turn to them and invite them into the room. And what I mean by inviting them to the room is that to your audience right now, whatever it is that you're running from right now, that is probably the one thing that you need to turn and deal with.
Yep.
And so that has become a strong point for me as a human being is I just don't care how bad the problem is because I've been to the absolute darkness. I don't care how bad it is because I know what's down there. So I'm going to turn and we're going to have a conversation. And if it requires me going back to a place I don't want to go again, okay, I know the way out. So I may go there involuntarily, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what happens most of the time. We're involuntarily taken to places we don't want to go. But I also know the way out.
Right. And so when you turn and lean
Yes.
into it, rather than wait for it to take you down, it's on your terms in dealing with it a little bit.
To some degree, I just want to say though that there are lightning strikes that you're going to turn to and you're going to be taken down. There is no defensive mechanism. You're going to lose.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. It does take courage in any case.
100%. 100%. It takes courage to stand there. How about this? Again, later in the book, and we won't have to get off on a tangent here, but knowing I'm walking into a meeting where I have built a company to over $20 million in sales and I have investors, three of them. And I'm walking into a room. And just before I walk into that room, I'm talking to someone on my cell phone. And he says to me, hey, Scott, I'll never forget his words. Scott, no matter what happens in that room, we'll get through it together.
Ooh.
And I hung up, set my cell phone down, walked in the front door. Young lady said, they're waiting for you in the conference room. I walked in the conference room. Two were sitting across the conference table. One was standing in the corner, and I sat down across from them. I could have chosen anywhere in that room, but I intentionally sat down directly across from someone who's about to say something profound. And they asked me how I was. And I said, let's get on to the business of why I'm here. What do you want? And they said, Scott, we're going to have to go a different direction. It's going to be without you. That was my company that I built. It takes courage to know you're walking to your financial death, but to walk in there and sit down at the table, eyeball to eyeball, and make them tell you what they wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not saying I'm this wildly courageous person, I'm saying that at all, but I'm just giving you a real world example
Yeah.
of bad things are going to happen in our life. And it's okay. Go sit in that. You'll be better for it, but
Yeah.
you're going to pay for it.
I've heard it, speaking of pay for it, I've heard it said that you can pay the price up front when you know what's coming, or you can pay it later with penalties and interest. So if you're
Yeah,
avoiding, it's going to compound.
it
So,
does. The way I say that is that we always underestimate the cost.
mm-hmm.
It is far greater than we ever estimate. And I was telling someone many years ago who was asking me all these questions about a person that he was working with. And I didn't like those questions because they weren't questions. You were asking permission. And I said, you don't have my blessing or permission. You're married. Get away
Oh,
from this.
mm-hmm.
And so he was diminishing the cost of his behavior and decisions. And he has been paying his entire life for that decision he made.
Yes, that's a stark real world example. So you have, what is the exact name of your book?
Oh, that's a great question. By the way, that was one of the reasons why I was excited to talk with you because Wake Up with Joni, right?
Yeah.
The name of my book is Wake Up to Die Again.
Ah, and where did the title come from?
Lots of painful introspection for 6 months with my editor. She just pulled the inside out of me. I have thought 42 times that I had the cover, I had the color, I had the words, I had everything. And every single time I told her, this is it, she said, let's sit with that for a little while. And it was, again, in short, a conversation with her and things that I talk about all the time and have talked about for many months. And she just challenged me to walk back through those conversations with her. And it just came up naturally in the conversation that I felt like I have to wake up and die again every day. Like when you look at my stories of this patent and this invention, and this funding, and how these things blew up, I think I made the comment. It's like I had to wake up and die again all over again. And it was like, poof.
That's a very spiritual
Oh, for
idea.
sure. Yeah.
We die every night when we go to bed.
Be thankful when we wake up every morning.
Yes, very grateful. We die, or we have things, allow things to die, like an old relationship or something that I've been hanging on to or grasping at. Allow it
Yeah,
to die so that something else can be born.
that's
When I
right.
say
In its place.
yes, yes, and that is
It's
the
beautiful.
cycle of life.
Yeah. But it's also beautiful, I think,
Oh,
is
it's
because
great.
I also, you and I both know people. I guarantee you interact with people. I see them all the time. They're all over the place. They're waking up every day just to die again.
Yeah.
They're miserable,
Yes.
absolutely miserable.
Yes.
It's in conversations, it's in their body language, it's in everything. And it pains me to see it and to have
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
I was with someone, I just have to say this. I was with someone not too long ago and I said, hey, how's it going? He said, living the dream.
Yeah.
I go, can I ask you a question? What does that mean for you?
Hmm.
I really want to know. We've known each other for a long time. What does living the dream mean?
Hmm.
Oh, no, Scott, I was just a saying, just doing my thing. I said, okay. I said, just between me, just two guys talking. What would your life look like if you really were living the dream?
Hmm.
And there was just silence. And then as he was turning to walk away, he says, man, I don't know where that question came from, but I ain't got time for this. And he walked away.
Oh,
That just stuck with me.
something triggered?
Yeah, for him, not
Hmm.
for me. I mean, I just asked an honest question.
Yeah.
What would your life be like? To your audience,
Yeah.
what would your life be like if you were living your dream? I'm not the first person to ask that question.
Yeah.
You
And then
know,
take a small step, like you said,
yeah,
toward it
lily pads.
today. Yeah. Lily pads. I like that. I do want to get to something you and I touched on in our email exchange, which is about it's a favorite topic of mine because I think there's a lot of suffering in our
Mm,
society right now, maybe in the world, but particularly in the Western world, around healthy masculine, healthy feminine, toxic masculine, toxic fem.
absolutely.
It's pervasive. And I really would like for you, somebody who lives a life that's in alignment with who you are. Clearly, you have a successful relationship. And I think you have a lot to say in this area. So can we go there now?
Absolutely. When I think of healthy masculinity in today's world, and maybe even in every world, it's not a loud man. It's not the dominating man. It's certainly not the performative man. It's something my belief is that the masculine man is something that I strive to be. You mentioned this, it's a grounded man. What does that
Hmm.
mean when you're grounded? It means that you've learned how to carry strength without needing to display it.
Hmm.
The medals on the wall, the watch, the car. Can you not be grounded enough to not have to have those things? Can you protect something without actually controlling it? That's
Oh,
important. Protecting things without controlling.
I just got the chills on that one.
Can you lead? Can you lead something without being demanding of it?
Hmm.
Or perhaps can you just be steady in a relationship without becoming emotionally absent? Not the high highs, not the low lows. Be present, but don't be absent. And I guess again, going back to the theme of discipline that I hear about so much today, which I believe in, but some of the people I hear talking about it make me scratch my head. But I think healthy masculinity also involves high elements of discipline, being honest not only with yourself, but with others. And I guess equally important, being accountable, doing what you say you're going to do. And that's something I grew up with, is that your word is your bond. And there wasn't when your handshake meant, my handshake means if I look somebody in the eye and say to be at the top of the hill and get there, I'm going to be there or break getting, right?
Hmm.
I don't hide behind being aggressive or being passive or sarcasm and your image or status. I've evolved to this place in my life not through success. Success taught me nothing but failure, and failure taught me nothing but the things I needed to learn. So I guess I would say that on this topic is the sooner you can find yourself in a place where you don't need applause anymore, you're going to be right in the neighborhood of what real male masculinity is, in my opinion. I
Hmm.
hope that gives you some highlights there.
I love that. Yes, yes. And so as you're talking, I'm thinking, I'm going to ask him this. There are three things that you think are the ingredients in the recipe of your successful marriage.
Oh, marriage. I'm glad you asked that because my wife, we're having our 28th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. So, three successful things that in my marriage.
Hmm. For your relationship, I mean, it
Oh, the relationship.
really, the relationship. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
need a piece of paper to be committed spiritually, energetically, from the
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah. Nope. 100%. And I guess the very first thing I would have to say, you just lit the fuse there, is that our relationship has always been fundamentally based on our faith. And without that, I just can't even imagine a scenario of how we would have gone through these challenges that we went through because she was with me. And I don't know how we would have made it together at all. Faith, that spirituality part of it. The
Mhm.
second thing that I would say is using that theme of wake up to die again. I can't imagine a scenario where if my wife desperately wanted something that I wouldn't sacrifice myself for that.
Mm.
And this is on my website. It's not new, but there was an event. I just want to tell you this there briefly. There was an event at a Best Buy in the town we lived in where there was an active shooter.
Mm.
And the lady made it out into the parking lot. And I was coming through the parking lot when she rounded the corner with blood all over her. And of course, it was shock and awe, and my military brain's going off. Where did the blood come from? And about the time we met each other, to my left, I heard a noise, and here comes the gunman, and I'm in between him and her.
Mm.
And so I got a big, beautiful, obviously award for that, and that was all wonderful for interceding in that with an off-duty police officer. And when the day came for me to go in front of a big crowd and get this big award, my son was having a program at school. And she said, listen, you're more than happy to go to that. And you just let me know what your decision is and I'll support you. And what she was really saying is, you need to make a choice. Is it you or the family?
Your wife was saying this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the most gracious, wonderful, loving way you could ever be asked that question.
Mhm.
But I think she knew what my answer was going to be because I love my family and I didn't go and I never got the award. And I
Mhm.
went to see my son's program. And I was okay with that because in the end, it wasn't about the award. It was about my family. It wasn't until years later I got the award actually. But anyway, that's what I talk about. Anyway, that would be the second thing. And then the third thing is she taught me that she learned from her grandparents is we don't go to bed upset with each other. Never have. We don't do that.
Mhm.
And so that's not something I think that's biblical. Don't let the sun set on your anger or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I can't remember a time in our life where we went to bed mad at each other, even if we had to stay up and talk about it.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's
You're
really
welcome.
lovely. We learn when people lead by example. And what I love about our conversation today is that you're just honest. This is me. This is what I've learned. Take it or leave it, but I hope you take
Yep.
it because there's something magical on the other side of this. Please let people know where they can find you, where can they buy the book, remind us of the name again, and it'll be in the show notes. And then I have one more question after that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is go to my website, which is my name, scottlackey.com. That's the easiest thing to do. And by the time this podcast airs, the book will be live on Amazon.
Yay.
And the name of the book is Wake Up to Die Again. And I do really hope people will buy the book. I do hope they read it, not because you're going to find one or seven steps to how to solve whatever challenge you're going through, but I thank you more than you know that you affirmed me being honest and authentic because my book is 24 chapters. And some of these stories that I told you are in detail. They're individual chapters telling the detail about what happened and how it changed me and how I dealt with it and what I had to reconcile. And I love the conclusion in chapter 24. And I won't say it, but I very, very thankful for that. And so I hope your audience will go do that and get a deeper dive into some of the things we talked about today. And I really appreciate you asking the questions you did and the authenticity that you created in this environment. And so thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for being the human being that you are in the world. It matters. Yeah, I
I
know you know
appreciate it.
that, but it matters. And thank you for sharing this conversation. Somebody out there is going to take something and change their lives in
We
some
covered
small
a lot of
way.
ground. We hope so.
A little more ground to cover, and then we're out. So here's our
Yeah.
last question. How do you recommend that the listener go out and live their most alive life?
Go on an adventure.
Mm,
Go on an adventure. Harbors were not built to hold your ship. You need to go out over the horizon. You need to chase the sunset.
mm.
You need to look for the sunrise. That's what you need to do. I'm not
Okay.
telling you where to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on an adventure. Take your family with you. And yes, bad things may happen. You're going to be okay. And I'd like to see you on the other side of that.
Nice. Nice. Life itself is an adventure. So
100%. Live it.
they can do it. Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you. Okay. Well, folks, if you found something meaningful or inspiring today's conversation, I invite you to subscribe, rate, review, and share this episode with somebody you care about. The more we give for the sake of giving, the greater the difference we can make. If you're interested in working with me or getting a copy of my book, Stop, Look, Choose Your Journey to Peace and Freedom, you can visit wakeupwithjoni.com. And now, beautiful humans, it's your turn to go out and live your most alive lives.